Vampire dreams. The school hallway buzzed with its usual chaos. Lockers slamming, sneakers squeaking against the floor, and clusters of students laughing and shouting over each other. Amara navigated the crowd with her sketchpad clutched to her chest, her mind already drifting to the half-finished sunflower waiting for her in the art room. Halfway down the hall, her steps slowed. Kael leaned against a row of lockers, his broad frame impossibly still amid the bustling swarm of students. At first glance, he could have been mistaken for any other new kid, albeit one with impossibly perfect posture and an effortless grace that made him stand out like a king among peasants. But it wasn't just his looks that unsettled her. It was his stillness. While the chaos of the hallway moved around him, Kael seemed untouched by it. Where others shifted their weight, fidgeted with their bags, or adjusted their hair, he stood completely motionless, like a statue carved out of shadow. His golden brown eyes were fixed on something distant, sharp and unblinking, as though he were seeing a world beyond the one in front of him. Amara hesitated, her pulse quickening for reasons she couldn't name. Her fingers tightened around the edge of her sketchpad. Why does he always feel different? She wondered, a chill creeping up her spine. She told herself it was just her imagination, but her legs refused to move. The sharp bark of a stray dog snapped her out of her thoughts. She glanced toward the open doors at the end of the hallway, where the animal had wandered into the courtyard. It sniffed at a trash can, its tail wagging lazily as it explored. Her lips twitched into a faint smile. Dogs always made her feel a little lighter, their simple joy contagious. But as the dog's gaze shifted toward the hallway, and toward Kael, everything changed. The dog froze, its body stiffening like it had been struck. Its ears flattened, and a low, frightened whine escaped its throat. Without warning, it tucked its tail between its legs and bolted, its claws scraping against the pavement as it disappeared around the corner. Amara's heart sank. She turned her gaze back to Kael. He hadn't moved an inch. If he had noticed the dog, or its reaction to him, he gave no sign. He remained as he was, his expression calm, detached and unnervingly unreadable. She shivered, her skin prickling as though the temperature had dropped. Her instincts screamed at her to keep walking, to shake off the strange moment and leave it behind. But her curiosity anchored her in place. Her eyes lingered on Kael's face, searching for something. A hint of humanity, a crack in the perfect mask he wore so effortlessly. "Keep staring, and you'll give yourself away," Kael said softly, his voice like silk cutting through the noise of the hallway. Amara startled, her cheeks heating as she realized he was looking at her now. His gaze pinned her in place, sharp and unyielding. For a moment, she forgot how to breathe. I wasn't staring," she stammered, gripping her sketchpad tighter. Kael's lips curved into a faint smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Of course you weren't." Her throat tightened. Something about the way he said it made her feel like he'd peeled back a layer of her thoughts, exposing things she hadn't even admitted to herself. She hurried past him without another word, her pulse pounding in her ears. By the time she reached the art room, her hands were trembling. She set her sketchpad on the desk and took a deep breath, willing her heart to slow down. But the memory of the dog's reaction, and Kael's unnerving stillness, clung to her like a shadow she couldn't shake. "Amara, you okay?" Mrs. Langston's voice snapped her out of her thoughts. "Yeah," she said quickly, forcing a smile. "Just distracted." Mrs. Langston nodded and moved on, but Amara's mind remained tangled in questions. The way the dog had bolted, as if it had sensed something unnatural. The way Kael had stood there, utterly unaffected. And the way his eyes had pierced through her, leaving her with the uncomfortable feeling that he knew exactly what she was thinking. She picked up her pencil and tried to focus on the sunflower in front of her. But as her hand moved across the page, one thought kept circling in her mind, growing louder with every passing second. What is he? The art room was bathed in golden afternoon light, the kind that made everything seem a little softer, a little more surreal. Amara adjusted her sketchpad on the easel. her brow furrowed in concentration. She wasn't an artist by any stretch, but the act of drawing, losing herself in lines and shapes, always calmed her nerves. Today, though, calm felt impossible. Kael sat beside her, his presence impossible to ignore. He wasn't doing anything in particular, just sketching with effortless precision. But the air around him felt charged, like a storm was brewing just out of sight. Amara glanced at him out of the corner of her eye. His long fingers moved fluidly across the paper, capturing the delicate curve of a flower petal with an ease that made her envious. She hated how perfect he looked, how composed he always seemed. It was unnerving. "You're staring again," Kael said without looking up, his voice low and teasing. Her cheeks flushed, and she quickly turned back to her own sketch. "I'm not staring. You're in my peripheral vision. It's different." Kael chuckled softly, the sound sending an unwelcome shiver down her spine. "If you say so." Amara gritted her teeth, determined to ignore him. She reached for her sharpener, but her hand slipped, and the tip of her pencil jabbed into her palm. She let out a sharp hiss, dropping the pencil as a bead of blood welled up on her skin. "Damn it," she muttered, grabbing a tissue from her bag to dab at the cut. The reaction from Kael was instantaneous. His body went unnaturally still, his head snapping up as his golden brown eyes locked onto her hand. The shift was subtle but undeniable, like a predator scenting prey. Amara's heart skipped a beat. "It's just a scratch," she said quickly, more to herself than to him. Kael didn't respond. His gaze remained fixed on her hand, his breathing shallow and controlled. There was something in his expression, something raw and dangerous, that made her pulse race for all the wrong reasons. "Kael," she prompted, her voice firmer now. He blinked as though snapping out of a trance. "You should be careful," he said, his voice low and tight. "Blood has a way of drawing attention." Amara narrowed her eyes, her unease flaring into irritation. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you should take better care of yourself," Kael said, his tone evasive. He leaned back slightly, but the tension in his body remained palpable. Amara wasn't having it. She set her sketchpad aside and turned to face him fully, her chin lifting in defiance. "Okay, seriously, what's your deal?" Kael's brow furrowed, his golden eyes darkening slightly. "I don't know what you mean." "Yes, you do," she said, crossing her arms. "You've been acting weird since you got here. You stare at me like I'm some kind of science experiment, and now you're saying cryptic stuff about blood? If this is some kind of game, I'm not playing." Kael's lips twitched, as though he wanted to smile but thought better of it. "You're not afraid to speak your mind, are you?" "Why should I be?" she shot back. "You don't scare me." Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement, maybe, or something darker. "Maybe you should be." The words sent a chill down her spine, but she refused to back down. "Is that a threat?" Kael leaned forward slightly, his gaze holding hers with an intensity that made her breath hitch. "It's a warning," he said softly. "Be careful who you trust, Amara." Her name on his lips sent a jolt through her, but she masked it with a scowl. "Trust? I don't even know you. You will," Kael said, his voice laced with quiet certainty. Amara stared at him, her pulse racing. She didn't know what game he was playing, but she wasn't about to let him win. "You're unbelievable," she muttered, grabbing her sketchpad and standing abruptly. "Keep your warnings to yourself." As she walked away, she could feel his eyes on her, heavy and unyielding. It made her skin prickle, but she refused to look back. She wasn't going to let him get under her skin, not any more than he already had.